Story number 10, Little Ricky, Hauntings Beyond Halloween. Set against the crisp autumn backdrop of a small town, this enchanting post-Halloween story follows little Ricky as he uncovers the mysteries of the spirits that linger beyond All Hallows Eve. A magical morning conversation with Granny reveals comforting stories of loved ones long gone, weaving a tale that celebrates both the living and the departed. This touching narrative combines the thrill of ghostly encounters with the warmth of family bonds, leaving readers with a sense of connection that transcends time. Little Ricky, Hauntings Beyond Halloween. To best enjoy this tale, a sequel, it is suggested that you first read Gentle Ghosts, Halloween Heists, and Perfect Pumpkins by Richard J.M. Gautier in Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake, copyright 2021. The morning air was crisp on the 1st of November, as the first rays of sunlight began to peek over the horizon, casting a golden hue across the quaint streets of Otter Lake. The earth was blanketed with the remnants of autumn, a mosaic of amber, russet, and gold leaves that crunched underfoot. The chill in the air hinted at the coming winter, but the bright, cloudless sky promised a pleasant day. In the distance, the faint honking of geese could be heard as they embarked on their southward migration. The gardens, once bursting with summer's vibrant colors, now lay bare, the beds covered in a layer of leaves, with only the resilient evergreens standing tall against the encroaching season. On the covered front veranda of the Gautier's homestead, the last of the summer's potted geraniums clung to life, their red blooms a stark contrast against the fading backdrop of autumn. Little Ricky, a 5-year-old boy with rosy cheeks and bright, curious hazel eyes, sat beside his granny. He wore a thick woolen jumper, hand-knitted by his mother, and corduroy trousers that rustled as he moved. His mop of wavy dark hair was partially hidden beneath a woolen hat, and his tiny hands were stuffed into mittens to ward off the morning chill. Granny, a woman in her late 70s, had her silver hair neatly tied back in a bun, her kind eyes always twinkling with warmth and wisdom. She was dressed in a long, warm skirt and a thick cardigan, buttoned up against the cold, with a woolen shawl draped over her shoulders. The pair had spent the early morning cleaning the garden, gathering fallen leaves into piles that the wind had already begun to scatter. Now, they sat together on the old worn sofa on the veranda, taking a well-deserved break. The sofa, with its faded old velour fabric, had seen better days, but it was a beloved piece of furniture, filled with memories of past family gatherings and quiet moments like these. "Granny," Ricky began, his voice filled with the excitement that only a child can muster. "Last night was the best Halloween ever. We got so much candy, and everyone loved my ghost costume." Granny smiled, her eyes softening as she looked at her grandson. "I'm so glad you had a wonderful time, Ricky. Tell me all about your night. Did anything special happen?" Ricky's face lit up as he recalled the previous night's adventures. "We went all around town, and I saw so many cool costumes and house decorations. But the best part was when we went to the cemetery near the church. My friend Grace was tired and had to sit down on the church steps, but I stayed behind when the others decided to continue trick-or-treating up Quail Road. I was so amazed by everything that I walked along the graveyard with all the big, tall tombstones. Suddenly, I heard wind chimes, and then I felt a warm hug. Granny. It was like a gentle whisper telling me, 'Please do not be afraid. Ricky, please tell Gertie we love her. She was our friend.'" Granny's eyes widened, and she leaned forward slightly, her interest piqued. "Ricky, that sounds like quite an experience. Did it frighten you?" "A little bit," Ricky admitted, his voice softening. "But mostly it felt comforting. I think it was Anna and Maria, your friends you told me about. I saw their simple grave markers, the little white crosses." Granny nodded thoughtfully, her expression one of quiet contemplation. "You might be right, Ricky. I've always believed that spirits can communicate with us, especially on nights like Halloween, when the veil between our world and theirs is thin. You know, I've been able to sense spirits for many, many years." Ricky's eyes grew even wider, his curiosity ignited. Really, Granny? Can you tell me more about it? Granny settled back onto the old sofa, pushing a large cushion behind her back as she prepared to share one of her many stories. Her voice took on a soft, almost mesmerizing tone as she began. Oh yes, Ricky. Let me tell you a story from the early 1900s about a place called the Otter Lake Exchange Hotel. It was known to be haunted by many spirits. One story that always stood out for me was about a woman named Elizabeth. Ricky's attention was fully captured, his bright eyes fixed on Granny as she spoke. Elizabeth was a young waitress who worked at the Exchange Hotel around 1922. One night, during a terrible storm, she was found dead at the bottom of the staircase that led down to the cellar. No one knew how she had fallen, and ever since that night, guests and staff have reported seeing her ghost wandering the halls. They say she appears on stormy nights, drenched in water, as if she's still caught in that terrible storm. Her spirit roams the hotel, forever seeking the truth of her demise. Ricky shivered, both enthralled and unsettled by the tale. Did anyone ever find out what happened to her, Granny? Granny shook her head, a hint of sadness in her voice. No one ever did, Ricky. It remains a mystery to this day. But Elizabeth's story is a reminder that some spirits remain because they have unfinished business or unresolved mysteries. They sat in silence for a moment, the morning breeze rustling the leaves around them on the veranda floor. Granny then suggested, "Let's go inside and have some tea and cookies. I'm feeling a little cold, and a cup of tea will warm my bones. We can continue our conversation in the parlor." The parlor was a cozy room, filled with the warmth of a home well lived in. The aroma of freshly brewed black tea mingled with the sweet scent of the baked cookies that Ricky had helped his Granny make that morning, tempted their tummies. The room was decorated with Granny's antique furniture, each piece carefully polished and cared for. Family photos adorned the walls, their sepia tones telling the story of generations past. A soft light filtered through the lace curtains, casting a gentle glow over everything, making the room feel even more inviting. Ricky and Granny settled into their chairs, the clinking of a teacup and a glass of milk the only sound for a moment as they enjoyed their treat. "Granny," Ricky asked as he nibbled on a cookie, "why do ghosts exist? Should I be afraid of them?" Granny took a sip of her tea, her expression thoughtful as she considered her answer. "Ghosts exist for many reasons, Ricky. Sometimes they have unfinished business or were taken from this world too suddenly. Other times they are simply lost and need help finding their way to peace. There's no need to be afraid of them. Most spirits mean no harm. They're just like us, looking for comfort and closure." Ricky nodded, feeling a bit more reassured by Granny's words. "Can you tell me another ghost story, Granny?" Granny smiled, her eyes twinkling with a mix of amusement and nostalgia. "Of course, Ricky. Let me tell you about a journey I took with my father when I was about your age, back in 1897. We were heading to Otter Lake from our home up on top of the Polish hills where we all lived, to buy supplies. When we reached the Pickenock River crossing, we had no choice but to cross the original spooky old bridge. As we were crossing, we both heard a woman wailing. Thinking someone was in trouble, we rushed to the railing and saw the phantom of a young woman covered in blood." Ricky gasped, his imagination running wild. "Who was she, Granny? Was she really covered in blood?" Granny's voice lowered to a whisper, as if sharing a secret from the past. "It was Mrs. Plouffe." My father recognized her, but the strange thing was that Mrs. Plouffe had died 2 months earlier in a terrible accident at the sawmill. Her dress got caught in the saw blade, she was dragged through the big saw, and was tragically killed. But months later, that day, we saw her ghost below the bridge along the riverbank, calling out for help. It was a chilling experience, but it made me realize that spirits often appear because they are in distress and need acknowledgement. Ricky listened intently, both fascinated and frightened by the tale. "That must have been so scary, Granny. Did you ever see her again?" Granny shook her head, her expression serious. "No, Ricky, we never saw her again. But I've always remembered that night and the lesson it taught me about the presence of spirits in our world." After their tea, milk, and cookies, Ricky and Granny moved to the kitchen to wash the dishes. The kitchen, with its well-worn wooden table and cupboards filled with a collection of mismatched dishes, felt like the heart of their home. The light in the room was warm and golden, casting long shadows that added to the cozy atmosphere. As they worked together, the simple tasks of rinsing and drying dishes became another shared moment of quiet companionship. "Granny," Ricky asked, his curiosity still piqued, "can you tell me more about your two little friends who died from diphtheria?" Granny's expression softened, a mix of fondness and sorrow tugging at her soft facial features. "Maria and Anna were such sweet girls. They grew up during the pioneer period in the late 1800s. Their family lived in a small log house not far from where I was born and raised in the Polish hills. We used to play together all the time. But when diphtheria struck, it spread quickly and took many lives. Maria was only 5 years old. Just like you, Ricky. She was your age. Anna was 7 when they both got sick. Anna was about my age in those days." Ricky listened, his heart heavy with the weight of the past. "That's so sad, Granny. Did their spirits visit you often?" Granny nodded, her eyes misty with memory. "Yes, Ricky. Many times when I was young, I felt their presence, especially in the years after they passed. It was as if they wanted to remind me of our friendship and the love we shared, even though they were no longer with us in body. Sometimes, late at night, I could hear their laughter, faint but familiar, as if they were still playing in the fields where we used to spend our days. At their home up in the hills, they had a beautiful wind chime in the garden, and I often hear that, along with their whispers." Ricky's eyes were wide with wonder and a hint of sadness. "Do you think they're at peace now, Granny?" Granny smiled softly, her voice filled with certainty. "Yes, Ricky, I believe they are. They found peace knowing that they were loved and remembered. And whenever I think of them, I feel a sense of comfort knowing that they are still watching over me." As they finished the last of the dishes, Granny and Ricky sat down at the kitchen table. Ricky, his curiosity still piqued, asked, "Granny, do you know any ghost stories about little boys?" Granny thought for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, Ricky. There's a story about a little boy named Ricky. That little boy was also called Ricky. It's such a lovely little name. You and he share the same name." Ricky gulped, his eyes wide with surprise. Granny paused, her eyes softening as she considered Ricky's questioning look. This little boy called Ricky lived near Farm Lake in the 1930s. One summer day, while playing by the lake, he fell into the deep water and drowned. Ever since then, his spirit has haunted the shores of Farm Lake. Ricky's eyes widened with a mix of fear and fascination. "What does he do, Granny?" "People often hear him calling out for other children to come and play," Granny continued, her voice low and steady. "Sometimes they hear him crying because he's afraid of the water. On rare occasions, folks walking by the lake feel a tiny cold hand tug at their own, as if he's still looking for a playmate or trying to find his way home." Ricky shivered, his mind racing with the image of the lonely ghost. "That's so sad, Granny. Why couldn't he find peace?" Granny sighed, her expression thoughtful. "Sometimes, spirits like that little boy linger because they died tragically and suddenly. They need help finding peace, just like any lost soul. It's up to us to remember them, offer prayers, and help them move on." Ricky nodded solemnly, understanding the weight of Granny's words. "I hope he finds peace someday, Granny." Granny placed a gentle hand on Ricky's shoulder, offering him comfort. "So do I, my dear. So do I." After sitting for a little bit longer at the kitchen table, Granny suggested that they return to the parlor. Her back was starting to hurt, and she felt that she would be more comfortable sitting in her cushion-padded rocker. Ricky and Granny moved to the parlor, the warm light from the windows casting a gentle glow over the room. The parlor was a cozy space, filled with antique furniture, family photos, and the soft ticking of an old clock that sat high up upon Granny's big old wooden china cabinet. Granny settled into her rocker, her movements slow and deliberate. "Ricky, would you turn on the radio for me?" Granny asked, her voice gentle. Ricky complied, and soon the room was filled with the soft, melodic strains of an old ballad. As the music played, Granny's expression changed. Her eyes filled with tears, and she quickly dabbed at them with a handkerchief she kept tucked in her sleeve. Ricky, concerned, rushed to her side. "Granny, whatever could be the matter?" Granny took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke. "This song, Ricky, was our song, mine and your Grandpa Rail's. We used to dance to it, and hearing it now brings back so many memories." Ricky grabbed a chair and sat beside Granny, holding her hands tightly. "I'm sorry, Granny. I wish I could have known Grandpa Rail." Granny smiled through her tears, her voice soft and full of love. "He was a good man, Ricky, the most handsome man you ever saw, with big hazel eyes and curly dark hair. You actually look a lot like him. He was strong, a lumberjack who worked hard in the camps, and later as the camp's foreman. But he died too young, at just 37, in a tragic accident." Ricky listened intently as Granny recounted the story of Rael's death. "He was trying to start his old car, the kind that needed a crank at the front. The car backfired, and the crank turned incorrectly, ripping something deep inside him. He fell to the ground in pain, and though he was rushed to the hospital, he didn't survive for very long after the accident. I was left a young widow with 4 children to raise on my own." Granny's voice wavered as she continued. "I miss him every day, Ricky. But I still see him, you know. Not as a ghost, but in my dreams. He comes to me, and we talk about our wedding day, our children, your daddy, aunties, and your Uncle Eddie, and we dance to this very song." Ricky squeezed Granny's hand, his young heart aching for her. "Granny, do you ever see Grandpa Rail as a ghost?" To his surprise, Granny nodded, her tears falling freely now. "Once or twice, I have. I've seen him standing at the foot of my bed, looking at me with those big, hazel eyes of his. I know he's watching over me, over all of us." Ricky's eyes welled up with tears too. "Do you think he's happy, Granny?" Granny smiled, her voice steady despite her tears. "Yes, Ricky, I think he is. And I think he's proud of us all. He loved us deeply, and that kind of love never fades." As the song on the radio ended, Granny and Ricky sat in silence, the room filled with a deep, peaceful stillness. Outside, the day continued on, the last leaves of autumn swirling gently in the breeze. But inside, in the warmth of Granny's parlor, the love and memories of those who had passed lingered on, bringing comfort and a sense of connection to the past. As the afternoon light filtered through the room's windows, Granny and Ricky shared a quiet moment, reflecting on the stories of the past and the spirits that lingered, knowing that their bond and understanding of the beyond had grown even stronger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the room in a soft amber glow, Granny whispered, "Ricky, never forget that love is the strongest bond there is. It connects us to those we've lost, and it's what keeps their memory alive in our hearts." Ricky nodded, his young mind absorbing the wisdom in Granny's words. Together, they sat in the fading light, the radio now playing yet another sweet ballad, the music softly filling the room. The warmth of the setting sun, the comfort of each other's company, and the presence of the past made this moment timeless, a memory to be cherished forever.
Other stories, collections, and books by Rick J. M. Gauthier. The first collection of 12 short stories is Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake. Take a magical trip with a young inquisitive boy as he navigates the months and seasons of his early years in his beloved hometown of Otter Lake, Quebec. This book is an assortment of a dozen charming, heartwarming short stories that are well suited for children and children of all ages. Travel through the seasons and special events from a time when life was simpler and days were filled with love, support, and happiness. From his amazing birth to the proud age of 5, discover the fun, the life lessons, the love, and the laughter as only can be experienced from a child's perspective. The first story in this collection is Little Ricky, the Beginning. This is a tale of two anxious but loving parents who welcome their new premature baby son into the world during a frosty, cold winter month of January. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Wise Mothers and Forgiving Grandmothers. A little boy's curiosity with Mother Nature gets him into trouble, but family matriarchs teach him life lessons. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, The Price for Sweets, a story portraying a father's deep forgiveness and a son's important early lesson that stealing does not pay. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Easter Blessings, a quirky account of a little boy's Easter morning adventures with an eventual meeting of an inspirational young woman who encourages the boy to use his talents to their fullest, as she has, with her beautiful singing abilities. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Little Sprouts, a tale portraying a boy's love of family, home, and garden when all was supported by loving parents and a family that worked together to bring bounty to the table. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, A Day in Heaven on Earth, a boy's memory of a brisk walk with his mother through a beloved hometown with an ultimate crowning visit to two of the town's respected elders, enabling a morning of fun, conversation, jokes, sweets, and shakers. The next story in this collection is A Jubilant July Visit, a story of a precious family visit from relatives who lived afar, which brought happiness and joy to a little boy during games, strolls in the forest, family meals, and banter and sharing between two young children. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Veronica's Triumph. Summer is coming to an end quickly with the days of August flying by. However, time remains for yet one more visit to Murray Lake for little Ricky and his kin at the family cottage. It is a beautiful adventure, but there is a catch. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, September School Saga. This quirky tale unfolds to reveal the fears and joys of a boy's very first day of school. First impressions are lifelong impressions, and little Ricky meets an early mentor when he is surprised by an amazing woman. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Gentle Ghosts, Halloween Heists, and Perfect Pumpkins. A curious account that finds little Ricky intrigued by a true ghost story as he enjoys the fun and spooky events of Halloween night. A night that concludes with an affirmation of the boy's new beliefs that the dead are not truly departed. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, Remembrance, My Uncle Iggy, My Hero. A small boy from a small town strives to better understand the meaning and history behind Remembrance Day commemorations and what actually happened during the dark days of World War II. He consults his grandmother, mother, family correspondence, and a true veteran of the Second Great War. His hero, his uncle. And finally, there is Little Ricky, A Child's Magic Christmas. Christmas is drawing near, and a little child named Ricky becomes immersed in the special activities of the last few days before the big day. This special festive time of year is shared by him with both family and friends. But the most special thing of all is that he discovers the true secret of Santa Claus. The second collection of 12 short stories is Little Ricky the Lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. This collection is sold in two parts. Otter Lake, Quebec is a hidden jewel, a small village in northwestern Quebec. It is the beloved hometown of little Ricky. Ricky is growing up, and the solid life footings he received in Otter Lake, at home and at St. Mary's Elementary School have prepared him well to take on the confusing and yet exciting times of teen life. During his adventures of the late 1970s, he will explore the joys, fears, and triumphs during the awkwardness of adolescent life. Thankfully, the early values and teachings given to Ricky by amazing people all around him enable him to succeed, despite tough growing pains. Little Ricky has become the lad from Otter Lake, and he continues to champion happiness, love, understanding, forgiveness, and growth. The 12 short stories in this new collection, as were those in Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake, are works of historical fiction. The plots and the majority of characters in these stories are fictional. However, the details and the descriptions of the tales and individuals are based upon the author's most cherished memories of special times and special people in his life. The short stories in this book explore the complexities and challenges and loves and fears of teenage experiences, including classroom antics and school studies, finding love, dating, bullying, teen pregnancy, mental health, sexuality, gender, body image and weight, gain, loss, death, addiction, and suicide. However, though tough teen subjects, each are told in the most loving, kind, understanding, forgiving, and heartwarming ways that is best known as the Little Ricky way. The first story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. The English assignment, A Coat of Many Colors. As a teenage boy, Ricky gets bullied at school. However, despite any torment, the lad finds strength and inspiration from a remarkable new young teacher and an insightful folk song to help him overcome his ordeal. Mrs. Bretzloff puts aside dusty old teaching techniques and inspires her class to learn in a variety of new ways. Her support, along with that of loving parents, enable Ricky to stand above harassment, to call it out, and to happily move forward. So he uses lessons learned to not repeat history. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. Be Mine, Sweet Valentine. February 14th, a day dedicated to sharing love, is just around the corner. Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake, feels both fear and anticipation as an awkward teenager leading up to this special day. A beautiful young student teases Ricky with the possibility of experiencing love from the heart, and he loves her dearly for sharing a deep secret that she has held within her very own heart. Two astute women, one a brilliant science teacher, Mrs. Perry, and the other a compassionate English teacher, Mrs. Kavanagh, help Ricky better understand the physics and functioning of the heart, but it is his brother Chris who sparks an idea in Ricky, in showing his classmates that the heart indeed holds love, emotion, and compassion. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, captivating moments of history and celebrating a new life. In early March, the roaring lion symbolizes a longer winter. In March 1979, it equally symbolized some difficult life challenges, but by month's end, it was the gentle lamb that returned stability and a promise of better times ahead. In the last days and weeks of a cold Canadian winter, a frosty month of March, Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake, finds inspiration and escape from the winter blues in an amazing teacher, Mrs. Maharal, and her ability to edify moments of history. Concurrently, when a young lady, a classmate, finds herself in trouble, Ricky makes plans to help after sharing her secret with his most loved Granny. Granny's wisdom motivates Ricky to follow his heart and help his new friend through her struggles. Ultimately, if all goes according to plan, the name Richard will live on in history. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, Unsettled Easter Emotions. Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake, is keyed up for spending special times with his family during Holy Week and Easter, but things quickly take a turn for the worst. A wonderful teacher from Victoria Avenue High School, a kind man, Father Costello, helps Ricky navigate some very emotional times he is facing as he deals with news of a beloved ill brother. In trying to come to terms with new realities within the family, Ricky is reminded by the priest to follow his own wise advice. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, the saga that started with the dynamite boom. Two explosions set off two dramatic parallel sagas, one fictional and the other quite real. When being faced with fears and a few acts of physical violence, a caring teacher, Mrs. Ringrose, and the parallels of a novel she presents to her students help little Ricky to overcome the ordeal. With renewed hope, that forgiveness and love trumps over anger and hate. As Ricky adopts the 7 steps to forgiveness, his saga ends with a surprising twist. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, A Crashing Crush. A young lady's misstep sparks a teen romance, and suddenly little Ricky finds himself in unfamiliar territory. Wise advice and support from esteemed teachers Mr. Carroll and Mr. Dubois help Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake, navigate these uncharted waters to a very unsettling conclusion. After deep heart-wrenching grief, shall little Ricky travel to Hull? Will he walk along La Promenade du Lac des Fées and dance with the fairies? The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. Grateful for Gladys's guidance. The July summer heat does not bother Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake. The young man is bothered by something else. When insecurities about his recent weight gain start to bubble to the surface, the lucky fellow is fortunate to receive help, advice, and support from a respected, treasured, and much-loved woman. The guidance and roadmap bestowed upon him by this teacher of life lessons are something Ricky will cherish for the rest of his life. Aunt Gladys offers love, wisdom, and lived experience to provide Ricky with a renewed sense of self-worth. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. Wild Boy's Wise Woman. Ricky and his best mate Daniel, a foster kid who lives across the street, befriend a troubled boy from town. Sadly, hidden trauma drives this unhappy 14-year-old lad to develop a rough character, to tell lies, to steal, to smoke, and to abuse alcohol. Being empathetic young guys, Ricky and Daniel invite him to a camp out, a night that changes the lives of everyone involved. While the situation escalates out of control, it forces the lads to face hard truths about life. Luckily, Ricky and Daniel are fortunate to have a wise woman, Mrs. Louisa Beauregard, Daniel's foster mother and friend to Ricky, close by throughout the entire disconcerting adventure. Always present and willing to help, she supports the guys from the beginning to the end. Her life experiences and gained knowledge shed light on the dangers of smoking and drinking to the curious teens, and provides some surprising revelations that help the friends realize how lucky they really are. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, A Friend's Secret, A Friend's Truth. Early in the month of September 1979, the routine of a new grade 9 school year begins for poor Ricky. Ricky feels challenged by the complexities of algebra, a mandatory course as part of his curriculum. Thankfully, he has a great teacher called Mr. Philip Perry who helps him demystify algebraic equations. Concurrently, Ricky meets a new student who he befriends. He discovers that this individual is a very special person that holds a deep personal secret. Unexpectedly, when Ricky's pal's secret gets revealed, life changes for everyone. Though very shaken by the fallout, Ricky is fortunate to have the support of his trusted teacher, Mr. Perry, who helps him navigate through the very painful ordeal. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, The Gallant Ghost. In Canada and across West Quebec, especially in and around the communities of Otter Lake and Shawville of the Pontiac region, October is the month when most teens excitably await the mid-month-long weekend of Thanksgiving and the days leading up to Halloween fun. By month's end, most are keyed up for Halloween costumes, parties, treats, and of course, spooky times. However, for one melancholy teen, October events are not at top of mind. As a troubled young student, Rose finds out the hard way that ending one's life is not the answer to resolving trauma of the mind or body. She realized that built-up sadness, hurt, and poignant pain can endure. Thankfully, Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake, and a few of his trusted schoolmates, after being inspired by some thought-provoking and unexpected lessons given to them by Mrs. Esselpeth Russell, an extremely talented history teacher, were all able to provide emotional and spiritual support to dearest Rose. Luckily, Rose finds mysterious ways to communicate her distress to her friends, and thankfully is able to move beyond the suffering in her soul. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures, an economic exchange. Ricky did not like the big bright red letter F, noted upon his recent test. The shocking circumstances forced poor Ricky to face reality and take action to not flunk his course, especially since it would provide him with valuable knowledge that he would use for the rest of his life. The incident pushes the lad from Otter Lake to a pivotal turning point, where he reaches out to a sympathetic and understanding teacher. With the support and help of a respected economics teacher, Mr. John Sprovier E., Ricky is able to influence the use of alternative teaching methods that proved not only beneficial to him, but to everyone studying Economics 101. The traditional course delivery by this admirable teacher would be forever changed, showing that despite having any fears, being honest and able to suggest change can achieve amazing results. Little Ricky, the lad from Otter Lake Adolescent Adventures. The best Christmas gift is love. In December 1979, practically everyone embraced the upcoming holidays with excited anticipation and joy. Even English classes at Victoria Avenue High School get transformed by a brilliant teacher, Mrs. Helen Duquette, so that all of her students fall in love with Christmas. This beloved teacher introduces her pupils to several Christmas-themed literary works, but it is the one she loves most that inspires her flock. With appreciation and love for this teacher, Ricky bestows a Christmas gift to her that only an English teacher could treasure most. As the days of December pass by quickly, leading up to the big day, it seems several Christmas secrets are kept within the Gauthier homestead. When these Christmas secrets get revealed, the only fact that is proved correct is that the best gift for Christmas is the gift of love. The third collection to ultimately have a full dozen short stories is Little Ricky, the young man from Otter Lake. This collection is being sold in 3 parts. Presently, part 1 is available. Embark on a captivating journey of growth and discovery with Little Ricky, a spirited young man from the quaint town of Otter Lake. At 21, Ricky sets forth into the bustling expanse of the big city, driven by aspirations of success and love. But as he navigates the unfamiliar terrain, unexpected hurdles loom on his path, testing his resilience and determination. With the unwavering support of his cherished family back in Otter Lake, the guiding wisdom of his kin in Ottawa, and the bonds forged with newfound allies, Ricky confronts each challenge head-on. Through triumphs and setbacks, he learns invaluable lessons that shape him into the man he's destined to become. Yet amidst the urban bustle, Ricky holds tight to his roots, his heart tethered to the tranquil charm of Otter Lake. For him, no distance can sever the ties to his beloved hometown, where memories linger like echoes and the warmth of community is a beacon of belonging. As he embraces the complexities of adulthood, Little Ricky's journey is a testament to the enduring power of home and the indomitable spirit that thrives within. The first story in this collection is Little Ricky, the young man from Otter Lake. Cancer hurts when the father's teachings touch the son. Cancer's touch leaves deep scars, but the memories it leaves behind can offer solace amidst the pain. Since birth, Cyril affectionately dubbed his premature son Little Ricky, unknowingly imparting valuable lessons that would shape Ricky's life. After Cyril's sudden passing, Ricky, now a young man, ventures into the bustling city of Ottawa. Despite always being prepared for anything, Ricky quickly realizes that there are challenges ahead. Fortunately, with the steadfast support of his friend and mentor Laura, Ricky draws upon his father's teachings to overcome obstacles and emerge victorious. Thus, the boy from Otter Lake transforms into a resilient man, carrying with him the enduring legacy of his father's wisdom. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the young man, from Otter Lake, a man's journey to independence and acceptance. Ricky undergoes a journey of self-discovery and healing amidst the backdrop of his hometown, Otter Lake. Returning home for Remembrance Day weekend, Ricky finds solace in the familiarity of his childhood surroundings and the loving embrace of his family. Through interactions with townsfolk and moments of reflection at his father's grave, Ricky grapples with his inner demons and seeks closure. Supported by the warmth and kindness of his community, Ricky begins to confront his struggles with body image and self-acceptance, embarking on a path towards healing and renewed hope for the future. As he reconnects with his roots and embraces the love of his family, Ricky finds strength in the simplicity and warmth of Otter Lake, reaffirming his sense of belonging and purpose for the journey ahead. The next story in this collection is Little Ricky, the Young Man from Otter Lake, Ricky's Journey Home for Christmas. From the frosty dawn of a November morning, Ricky, the young man from Otter Lake, wakes up filled with the spirit of Christmas. After a trying year, all Ricky yearns for is to return home to Otter Lake for the holidays. This emotional Christmas time tale unfolds in the weeks leading up to Christmas Day itself. Join Ricky on a journey that captures the essence of Christmas, a time of connection, resilience, and the enduring warmth of family and community. Set against the picturesque backdrop of Ottawa's bustling capital and the enchanting rural village of Otter Lake, Ricky navigates life's challenges and joys during this festive season. From nostalgic reflections on past Christmases to heartwarming moments shared with loved ones, each scene is painted with vivid detail and emotional depth. Through Ricky's journey, we're reminded of the timeless values of Christmas: love, friendship, and the spirit of giving. This tale resonates with the joy of Christmas and the power of togetherness, making it a story that touches hearts and rekindles the holiday spirit. And finally, there is Little Ricky, the Young Man from Otter Lake, a thriller coming out for love. In the unforgettable winter of 1987, Ricky returns home to Otter Lake, where the warmth of family, traditions, and memories surround him. But back in Ottawa, his world is changing fast. New love ignites with a charming and thoughtful mate, friendships deepen, and a dream career opportunity is within reach. For the first time, Ricky dares to believe that happiness is truly his for the taking. But just as life seems to be falling into place, a devastating loss sends him spiraling. And an unexpected confession from his new love threatens to shatter everything he's built. As love, grief, and self-discovery collide, Ricky faces a choice. Will he allow fear to define his future, or will he fight for the love and life he deserves? A gripping story of resilience, courage, and the power of love. Little Ricky, the Young Man from Otter Lake, a thriller coming out for love, is an unforgettable journey of self-acceptance and hope. Will Ricky embrace his truth and claim his happiness, or will the weight of the past hold him back? Inspired by the author's first collection, fall in love with Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake, the sequels. The fun continues in this new collection of sequels. Return to join Little Ricky in another 12 joyful short stories. Continue each original story where you left off, perhaps a day, a few days, or a week or so later. This new book of tales, the sequel to Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake, is an assortment of a dozen new, entertaining, fictional, uplifting short stories that are well suited for children and children of all ages. Travel through the seasons and special events, from a time when life was simpler and days were filled with love, support, and happiness. Have you ever wondered, after having read a good story, what happened next? Well, in the case of Little Ricky, his friends, and his kin, now you can find out. The events in each of these 12 new stories in this latest collection follow shortly after their respective original midquels of the author's first collection, Little Ricky the Boy from Otter Lake. This sequel collection holds these 12 new short stories. The Beginning at Homes, Sweet Home, Wisdom and Forgiveness, Beyond the Matriarchs, It Was Worth the Price, The Blessings, Bestowed That Easter, Sprout's Caretaker, Adolf and Lena, Angels from Heaven on Earth, Echoes of That Jubilant July Visit, Veronica's Triumph, Begets a New Fun Day and a Beautiful Bass Supper, School Day's Secret Saga, Hauntings Beyond Halloween, Let All Wars Be Ended Forever, and an Epiphany, A Boy's Little Christmas. Holiday dreams and winter magic come alive in Little Ricky, The Christmas Collection. This collection brings together 3 heartwarming holiday tales that celebrate the true spirit of Christmas through the eyes of Ricky, a beloved character from the quiet village of Otter Lake. From the wide-eyed wonder of childhood, when Ricky discovers the magic of Santa, to the tender moments of adolescence, where the best gift turns out to be love, and finally to the emotional homecoming of a young man after a challenging year, each story captures the essence of Christmas. Set against nostalgic backdrops and filled with family, friendship, and festive surprises, this collection invites readers to rediscover the joy, warmth, and timeless values that make the holiday season so special. Perfect for cozy winter nights, it is a must-read for anyone seeking a touch of Christmas magic. And finally, there is Christmas Kisses, a Christmas adventure like no other. Get ready for giggles, surprises, and magical mayhem. In Christmas Kisses, a Christmas adventure like no other, Fairy Nikki and Peggy Sue are back and stirring up festive fun in the days before Christmas. From peculiar pranks to heartwarming holiday mischief, these 2 whimsical pals will light up your season and leave you smiling from ear to ear. A delightful Christmas time tale perfect for readers young and old. Let the adventure and the kisses begin.